wide off the mark, the report said. However, the FIFA auditors recommended that the slim account office staff must be boosted, while modern accountancy software used by some federations like the South African FA must be acquired by the Ghana FA to ease the workload. The audit report has been made available to the Normalization Committee of the GFA for about 2 months now, but it is not known why it has so far been kept secret from the public. The report will come as a huge relief for Kwesi Nyantakyi and the Executive Committee of the Ghana FA, as there were suspicions of corruption within the Federation following A's investigative journalist Anas Anas expose, dubbed Number 12, which was premiered in 2018.
Well, there's more on this story in this broadcast. Stay with us, we'll bring you that. But right now, let's turn attention to the Eastern region, where the governing NPP has criticized as unpalatable comments by the Eastern Region Minister, asking rioting residents of Lower Manya Krobo to go off the national grid if they have challenges paying electricity bills. Now, the Regional Minister, Kwesi Nyantakyi, frustrated by the deadly protests by the Krobos against what they claimed is deliberate overbilling and mass disconnection by PDS, publicly chastised them for demanding free power. Now, the NPP leadership in the region held a press conference earlier today. Take a look.
The Eastern Regional Minister, Eric Darfour, who seemed frustrated over recent riots and clashes between residents and PDS staff over electricity disconnection and bill payment issues, asked residents to get off the national grid if they feel they cannot pay electricity bills last Thursday.
That's how we can build a nation. What about the Bronx? What about the Kaus, the Gonjes, all of them that have lost their lands? So people in Krobo, please, your Kono is saying that there is nothing to show that something like that exists. It has never existed, never will it exist until the kingdom comes.
The statement made by the minister did not go down well with the residents. The NPP in the Lower Manya Krobo found the minister's comments disrespectful to the people of Krobo land, raising concerns of brewing unease in the party in the region. Addressing a press conference on Monday on the development in Lower Manya Krobo, the NPP General Secretary in the constituency, Goldman Awuku-Doji, urged the regional minister to render an unqualified apology to the people of Krobo land.
The MP has taken a twist, wanting to make political capital out of it because his fame has come down. He is having an internal challenge. Why do you bring your internal problems onto the whole people of Lower Manya Krobo? We don't do that.
The party, meanwhile, declared its support for the people of Lower Manya in the wake of the deadly clashes with police to protest alleged overbilling and mass disconnection exercise by the power distribution services.
We scored political points in 2016 by telling them that we will reduce the bills. We are not saying people shouldn't pay, because the ex-president, John Mahama, by then has increased electricity bill by 58%. What is the role of the MP? He represents the people, and he has the majority responsibility to speak for the people. I asked one question: where was he in 2014? Where was he in 2015? Where was he in 2017? I leave the rest to you. Do justice to the issues.
The youth in the area organised a spontaneous protest to petition the municipal chief executive for the area, Kweku Simon Tete, on the concerns on overbilling by PDS and its ongoing mass disconnection exercise. They mounted roadblocks and pelted the PDS staff with stones and sticks at Yohi, a community near Odomase Krobo, when PDS staff went to the community to continue its mass disconnection exercise. The irate youth smashed a PDS Nissan pickup with registration number GV2318-1. It took the intervention of armed police personnel to rescue the PDS staff. The PDS staff decided to switch off the transformer, cutting off power supply to the entire area. Shortly after the attack, the angry youth mobilized to embark on a protest to petition the MCE, but the armed police rushed to protect the Municipal Assembly office by preventing the youth from entering the premises. This led to clashes between the youth and the police, with many warning shots fired to disperse the youth, who also attacked the police with stones and other implements.
But those very violent protests could happen again because some angry youth of Kwesi, a suburb of Odumase Krobo in the eastern region, have begun mobilizing themselves to hit the streets again over PDS's undue delay in restoring power to their communities. The angry youth, calling themselves Arena Boys, on Monday afternoon were seen going round with megaphone, inciting the youth to prepare for another protest this evening if the light is not restored.
According to the youth in Kwesi, they are prepared to match the police boot for boot should they attempt to use brutal force against them.
When they sort it out and they bring the correct bills, the people are ready to pay. Because since they built the dam around 1967, Krobos have been paying bills. Krobos have been paying bills up till now. So what happened? The whole thing started with the ECG not bringing the bills in the first place. So all we are saying is that they should go and sort their overbilling issues, come back with the correct bills, and the citizens are ready to pay.
You can see we are all gathering ourselves to go back on the streets because what we understand is the only language our leaders understand is violence. So we can't wait anymore. So we are trying to mobilize ourselves, go on the streets, straight from here to the MC's office to explain things to us. Then if it doesn't go on our favor, we take the law into our hands and then do anything that will make them come down to fix the right.
But the municipal chief executive for the area, Simon Kwesi, is calling for calm as he continues to engage management of the PDS to restore power to the area as quickly as possible.
Looking at what happened, because very unfortunate, nobody expected this. I would say condolences to the family that lost the one that boy. I hope that such incident will not happen in the Wamanya again.
Let's stay on the story a bit longer. Energy Minister John Peter Amewu today paid a courtesy call on the chief of Kwesi, Nenesa Sereku. The minister assures that government will carry out speedy investigations into the cause of the clashes and prefer sanctions for the perpetrators behind the acts. Let's go live to Kwesi, where correspondent Kojo is standing by to give us some updates on the issues and what's currently happening in that community. Kojo, we'll look at two key issues that have come up today from Kwesi. First, let's start with the restoration of power to communities within the Lower Manya Krobo districts. The youth have said if power is delayed regarding restoration, something will be done about it this evening. What can you tell us about it?
Well, Keminni, at exactly 4:40, power to the community, that is Kwesi community, was restored when the energy minister John Peter Amewu arrived in the community to join officials of PDS, the Deputy Regional Minister, and the Minister Chief Executive for this community to switch on the transformer for this community. So power has been restored since 4:40 p.m. today. For that matter, the planned protest by the youth in the community has been called off. The minister has assured them that they will ensure that investigation is conducted into the impasse, and those found culpable of causing this impasse and deadly crash will be dealt with.
I see. Now let's talk about the minister's visit itself. How did the residents receive him?
The residents were happy. They were happy because the arrival of the minister was accompanied with they getting power, and for that matter, they were happy that the minister has intervened for the PDS to give them power. What they're calling for is the fact that the minister calls PDS order so that they do not take such a decision to plunge the entire community into the darkness, which they say has lasted for about a week, and this has affected businesses in the community, particularly those who are running coastal businesses. They are saying that it has affected them a lot, and for that matter, they want the minister to for PDS to order to ensure that their concern of overbilling is dealt with, because if that concern is not dealt with, it means they are not going to have peace with PDS until that concern is dealt with.
Very well. Now I want us to talk about the NPP's call on the Eastern Region Minister. It would appear that this issue continues to grow in dimensions, and as it does, pressure on Eric Darfour, who is the regional minister, also mounts. Now, we hear how the governing NPP within the Eastern region is criticizing Eric Darfour. How much of this do you think would get the minister to apologize as he's been asked to do?
Well, for the party here, they do think the minister was misled with regards to briefing on the facts on the ground, because they say the minister was saying something which wasn't the case, that the residents in the Krobo area wanted to enjoy power for free, and for that matter, they were reluctant to pay for the electricity being supplied them since 2017, which they say is not the case, but rather the actual case is that of overbilling, which has existed since 2014. So they believe that the minister, realizing this mistake, hence his comment, must do the honorable thing by coming back to apologize to the people for that comment. That if they can't pay for bills, they should disconnect from the national.
So Kojo, does it appear that the minister is yielding to the pressure?
The minister is yet to respond to this particular call by in the Lower Manya Krobo constituency. He is yet to respond to this call.
Very well. Now, let's talk about the people who are arrested on the first day of the violence that broke out. What's the state of those people now?
For that one, we are yet to get briefing by the regional police command. Yes, today, I think this morning, they issued a statement giving some clarity to some of the issues on the ground. Of course, the energy minister condemned, the action of the police here, and similar concerns were raised by the chiefs in this particular area, especially when he visited the Kono and even the chief of Kono. They all raised concern with regards to the force used by the police. And also, with regards to the people arrested, the region, that's the regional police command, they say they are investigating the incident and also investigating the people arrested. And those found culpable will be put before court.
Kojo, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much. Kojo Ansah is our Eastern Region correspondent. He joined us from Kwenguno in the Lower Manya Krobo district, where disagreements over billing as far as electricity is concerned has plunged the community into chaos the last few days. Thankfully, calm has returned. Let's talk about the rainy season now. It's here, and we're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. But wait a minute. Traders at the Agbogbloshie market appear to be on the wrong side of this narrative. My colleague Jessica Meledi visited the market after 20 minutes rain on Monday and has come through with the following report.
A buzzing market, one of the largest trading enclaves in the capital city of Ghana. Dozens of traders in the market openly sell on the streets and pathways meant for movement. The rains have become a major risk factor. We visited the market to see how these women are coping with this natural phenomenon. Upon arrival, one thing was for sure. These traders lack space to store their wares, a major bane to their business. Amina Teni, a widow and a mother of 4 children, is a trader here at Agbogbloshie market. She has been selling onions for the last 10 years here and fends for her family through this trade. Amina shares with me her concerns during the rain and how she has lost some of her goods to the rain. But
Sinin Sunitono, Yentimin Chawojo, Cecia Pon Ebecofian, Alphesu and Tademaya, Nano Cran Shufa, Bicracoy.
The news team realized that most of the traders had to resort to polythene to cover their goods, although it could not guarantee a perfect shade. Products like mobile phones, gari and rice stood at a greater risk.
Ideally,
these traders here are supposed to be in stores to sell their goods. But they tell me that they cannot afford the high cost at which the stalls are sold and therefore have to resort to the streets. And a major problem they face being here is when it rains and how to keep their goods.
Other women in the market also expressed their worry about the rains and its effect on their goods. So I sought to ask the traders why they had resorted to selling on the pathways and streets. The common issue they raised was the high cost at which these stores are sold and the fact that they are insufficient.
When it is raining, we suffer a lot. We don't have proper place to sit. We stand on the rain and selling. We don't have chairs inside. So if like they will get us some place to sit, we will leave the roadside and go inside.
However, traders at the Abubloshi market are pleading with the government to build many stalls at reduced costs, since they are exposed to adverse risks selling in the open, including their goods.
We can now bring you insights. Flooding has become an albatross. Some say it is unavoidable. Granted. But let's picture it this way. Has it become a chronic curse or insurmountable in nature? Is it a system failure or attitudinal issue? The Minister for Works and Housing, Samuel Atachia, has been speaking on the issue. Let's listen to him again, after which we'll have a conversation.
Ladies and gentlemen, all the engineers are consensus ad idem and diagnose that the following are the major causes of flooding in the country. 1. World climatic changes that induce heavy rainfall. This is a pattern that you can't fight. It's a very, very, very interesting phenomenon that the whole world is looking at. High tides and coastal erosion. 2. 3. Lack of properly engineered drainage capacity, that is construction and maintenance. 4. Inadequate retention ponds. 5. Urbanization and settlements in low-lying areas. 6. The subculture of our people dumping all that they hate in their homes into the challenge and antiquated drains. I want to stress this because sanitation related. The subculture of our people dumping all that they hate in their homes into the challenged and antiquated drains. Poor waste management, that is both solid and liquid waste. Building and construction in waterways. Encroachment of natural water reservoirs, that is wetlands, lagoons and ponds. Poor land use, planning, implementation and enforcement. Inadequate funding for flood management. And last but not the least, lack of political will to bankroll the huge capital outlay to secure a world-class drainage system for the nation so as to avert the self-defeating and expensive cycle of desilting. Of all the pains a people may go through, the one which is tragic, shameful, and a mockery is that which is self-inflicted. Self-inflicted pain, it is said, takes longer time to heal. I would want to submit with the greatest of respect that there is a direct relationship between a subculture of creating filth and rain-induced flooding. How does it work? When we dump all the garbage we hate in our homes into our poorly engineered open gutters and drains, they choke the drains. When the rains descend heavily in June, July, and August, as we should expect, soon there will be runoffs, which we call floods, because the chambers of the drains cannot receive the free flow of storm water multiplied with the sewage. Our bad sanitation habits are further facilitated by the open nature of our drains, which makes it attractive for indisciplined persons to dump their waste into these drains. If you pay regard to any developed environment, you will never see open gutters. Because now what is invoked is that every sewage and filth should go subterranean. We are confronted with the issue of poor waste management from our homes, schools, hospitals, public places, industry, and also dam sites, among others. Both private and government garbage collectors often are unable to collect the waste because of the dam sites have exceeded their capacity. When the garbage is sometimes lifted, it is dumped along major roads and drains. Since plastics do not easily decompose, they end up choking the gutters, ponds, and waterways. There is a need for acquisition of land by metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies to serve as dam sites. Needless to say that we should use technology to convert waste into energy. This is what is invoked. In some countries, waste is put together and we could use it for energy to reduce the high cost of electricity generation. MMDAs should embark on sanitation and or public education of our people to change their attitudes towards waste creation and management. Rules on sanitation ought to be enforced to the letter and severe punishment meted out to the offenders. I'm not being mean, but the expensive cost in terms of lives, livelihood, and property because of our wretched sanitation habits, imprisonment of convicts will be sufficient and necessary deterrence to most Ghanaians, and we should go that way. Also, there's a need for adequate supervision to ensure that waste disposal sites are kept clean, to act as a motivating factor for garbage collectors to continue patronizing the dam sites. Ladies and gentlemen, to effectively address the issue of flooding, there should be collaboration between institutions such as ministries of sanitation, roads and highways, inner city and zongo development, local government and rural development, environment, science and technology and innovation, as well as the National Commission of Civic Education and the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO. I therefore call on the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies to provide sensitization and enforce their laws rigorously.
So what you had is an aspect of the Works and Housing Minister's diagnosis of the problem and solutions he prescribes to the problem of flooding around the country, particularly in the capital city, Accra. But let's have a conversation now with Executive Director for the Bureau of Public Safety, Nana Akwada, who's joined us over the telephone. Nana, good evening.
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers.
Are you impressed by anything the minister said regarding what we could do or what his ministry is doing to curb the situation?
Well, I'm sorry to say, but I could barely hear the minister over the phone. If you could run me through...
Well, essentially, the minister... Right. Essentially, the minister has chastised the Ghanaian people for having bad attitude towards waste disposal. He's spoken about the menace of plastic. He also spoke about the fact that government may not have the political will to deal with people who breach the laws on sanitation, who flout the laws on where to build and where not to build. And in this case, I'm referring to people who have built in waterways. Government's lack of will to deal with people who encroach on what could be natural ponds or wetlands for the environment. So those are some of the things he spoke about. And the bulk of his solution was dredging, in the Accra sense, dredging the Odo.
Well, I'll tell you what, I get a bit depressed when we have to continually go over this argument and this kind of narrative. And it's even more worse when you have people at the critical helm of affairs, such as the minister responsible for works and housing, such a critical ministry around these times. Look, we as a nation tend to forget so easily that only under 3 years ago, we lost over 200 lives due to floods. As I speak to you, more than 2 scores of people are nursing injuries that are crippling, injuries that have sent people, away, have changed the lives of people for good. These problems, we've always known about them. What we need now is action from government. If anybody who has been tasked or who has been given the power to ensure that the people are assured of safety, that the people are assured of sanity within our system, if anybody who has that mandate comes to us telling us what we know already, I think we should completely reject it. We should completely reject it. That is why he is a minister. That is why it is he who takes bill through the executive to the legislature to be passed as law. That is why he superintends over a ministry so that the system will work. If he knows that Ghanaians have bad attitude towards littering, poor attitude towards management of solid waste, it's been quite a while. Several ministers have passed since 2015. Nothing is being done. It is not for anybody to come tell us the problems. For God's sake, we are in the rainy season. So every action that needs to be taken must be taken without further rhetoric. Any other thing other than action at this time of the year is completely unacceptable. We need action. If you think that breaking down houses in waterways is the way to go, this is the time you walk the talk. If you think that Ghanaians have bad attitude towards littering or waste disposal, this is the time to fix it. So we, having given commentaries, several commentaries over floods, fires, and 2015, June 3rd, the climax of it all, I get a bit agitated when I hear these things being bandied about on air. So please, Honorable Minister for Works and Housing, this is the time. We are not in January, we are not in December. We are in May and we are entering June. This is the time to take action.
At this point in time, what would you refer to as action which should have been taken by now?
Number one, I want us to visit the June 3rd flash fire disaster investigation report. Okay? It gave us that, one, we must have a sanitation police Do we have it? After nearly 3 years, do we have it? We don't. It did indicate to us that the cities, the various cities or Accra in itself, must have a comprehensive solid waste management program which must be followed. Do we have it? We don't. In that same report, they captured the letter as far back as 2010 to the presidency, which indicated that the plastic waste in this country, the way and manner we dispose it of, has hit a catastrophic level that we need to act now. To date, nothing has been done in that June 3rd report. So anyone coming back to us to come and tell us what we can do, what we should do, is a waste. It's a complete waste of time. What we need now is action. We know the problems already. We know the solutions already. What we need now is that one single fellow, is that one single institution that's going to commit all the proposals into action.
Now, on the other hand, why is it so difficult for the Ghanaian people to do the right thing? For instance, why do people still find it difficult to use bins and would rather litter? What is fueling that attitude? What fuels it?
Well, I'll tell you, if you ask me this question in December or you ask this question in January, we'll just do an academic exercise, which is good for the public discourse. But if you ask that question in May, June, I'll tell you that leadership is cause. Leadership is cause. Everything else is effect. Everything else is effect. If people, why? Elsewhere you think Ghanaians are not lawless people. We are not intrinsically lawless. But if we have leadership at various levels that is weak, we would exploit the system to our own disadvantage. And that is what we are seeing.
Right. And I will leave it here for now. I look forward to something positive from the Works and Housing Ministry in terms of action. Thank you very much for your time. Nanaya Akwada is Executive Director for the Bureau of Public Safety. We've been discussing the environment and how we can prevent floods. And he thinks that leadership has failed us. You're watching News Tonight. That'll be all for Insight.
Tuesday at KFC.
Stop. What?
Get 5 pieces of chicken.
Stop it.
What? All for only 25 Ghana cedis.
Stop it, I like it.
It's finger licking good.
Welcome back to News Tonight. Did you know that in the first quarter of 2019, Ghana suffered 50 cryptojacking attacks on 50 of the country's internet service providers? Now, these attacks, according to experts, can have devastating effects on the country, hence the need for a swift intervention. This came up at a cybercrime workshop to discuss how to train investigators in cybercrime investigation and electronic evidence.
Cyber risk is now firmly at the top of international agenda due to the high-profile breaches and fears the impact of hack attacks and other security failures bring. Cyber attacks culminate in huge financial losses, and governments across the world are continuously searching for better cyber defense strategies to combat them. According to Superintendent Dr. Gustav Herbert Janssen, Director of the Cybercrime Unit at the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service, Ghana lost $105 million in 2018 due to cybercrime, calling for stringent measures to fight cyber cybercrimes.
What we are doing currently is that the cybercrime unit is only in Accra and Kumasi, which is quite worrying. A place like Swedru is, we know, it's a hub. This knowledge that is required, it is electronic evidence, which is the evidence that we require to prosecute. Electronic evidence is any information that is transmitted, stored on any device that we can use as evidence in prosecutions. So these pieces of evidence is found in almost every crime, in stealing, in murder, in defilement, in rape. We are finding all these there, and we realize that there's the need to train all our officers in how to handle it.
A cybersecurity venture report in 2018 suggested that cybercrime will rise to $6 trillion annually by 2021. Speaking at a cybercrime workshop here in Accra, stakeholders called for strict measures to deal with the situation. The workshop aimed at strengthening collaboration, cooperation and partnership among stakeholder state agencies to find a common ground to address growing threats of cybercrime to governments, corporate bodies, organizations and individuals. Marcus Green, board member of CWAG AAP, believes the workshop will be beneficial to Ghana's fight against cybercrime.
The idea is we provide some prosecutors and, more importantly, the police and investigators with some tools that they need to help combat transnational crime. So one of the things that we do at CWAG is we recognize that we live in a global village. What impacts a young girl in Arkansas can impact a young girl here in Accra. So everything from human trafficking to cybercrime to money laundering, anything that cuts across borders, we really work on and try to provide states with the tools that they need to help best go after these crimes.
The governing NPP, the opposition NDC, the National Peace Council and other CSOs are back on the discussion table to continue talks on disbanding political vigilantism in the country. The meeting will be the third since the talks to end political vigilantism, and it began with the first one held on April 9, 2019.
The National Peace Council has resumed its dialogue towards ending political vigilantism in the country. This will be the third talk held by the Council after a clarion call on the two major political parties in Ghana by the President to come together and end the creeping anti-security menace. As no conclusion was arrived at in the previous engagements, the chairman of the National Peace Council, Emmanuel Asante, disclosed that he is optimistic that the two-day event will enable the committee come up with recommendations for the President and also contribute to the vigilantism bill laid before Parliament.
Violent vigilante activities have become a security concern to our democracy, especially around general elections. Unfortunately, tensions, violence, and sometimes destruction of life and property have characterized competitive elections in the country, especially by-elections. It is our hope that this third meeting should be able to work out the modalities for dealing with the issues that the vigilante malaise present to our dear nation.
Currently, the country has 24 known political vigilante groups, and the number is expected to rise as it is predicted that many Ghanaians mistrust security agencies to provide them with the needed protection. But the Deputy Inspector General of Police, James Opong, in an interview disclosed that the work of the security agencies can be boosted if the laws in the country are stringent enough to deter political vigilante groups from causing havoc in the country.
The law we have now is a criminal code, and in my view, it doesn't provide enough deterrent punishment for the provisions we have. Do not provide enough deterrent punishment for people who fall foul of the law. So I believe, that's what I said, I believe that the bill before Parliament would come out with deterrent prescriptions for people who are involved in vigilantism.
President Akufo-Addo in March this year assured the Ghanaian community in Malta his administration will rid the country of political vigilantism to safeguard peace. Both political parties have seen eye to eye with the disbandment of vigilante groups within political parties or for political purposes, prohibiting the ownership, hiring or utilization of such groups by the political parties or members thereof, and cooperating with state agencies and stakeholders to ensure the total eradication of such groups or any incidents of vigilantism.
The Ministry of Business Development has commenced a competitive business skills training program for 2,000 selected entrepreneurs and startup companies across the country. This comes after the ministry signed an agreement with the Institute for Creation and Development Enterprise of Spain to provide training opportunities to the young entrepreneurs who would in turn serve as mentors to others after completing their training.
Small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, are said to contribute about 70% of the country's GDP. Stakeholders believe creating an entrepreneurial community requires a vision and commitment on the part of government to create an enabling environment for the entrepreneurs to succeed. Speaking at a short ceremony for the commencement of the entrepreneurial training program for some 2,000 young persons and startup companies, Chief Director of the Ministry of Business Development, Alhaji Hafiz Adam, reiterated government's commitment to ensure more jobs are created while providing enabling environments for businesses to thrive.
The President, in his wisdom, realized that in this country we lack entrepreneurship development, and all over the world, the economies that have been successful all over the globe, it is the contribution of SMEs that has contributed to the development of those countries. Now, paying attention to them means that we have to provide them with skills by addressing their challenges. They lack skills, source of funding, they lack leadership skills, and all sort of challenges. Even the policy space does not favor them.
The ministry also reiterated its readiness to monitor activities by these 2,000 young entrepreneurs for accountability.
We have a monitoring and evaluation director who is responsible for monitoring the activities of our clients to make sure that they deliver to our specification. So, as it were, they give monthly reports to us. And then the MAE director too also moves to the fields to actually see what is being done and then submit reports.
The training of the young entrepreneurs was made possible through an agreement signed between Ghana and the Institute for the Creation and Development Enterprise of Spain. The training will be done across all 16 regions of Ghana.
We'll be back with more business news. Stay with us.
I saw your brochure and seriously, my business needs a makeover.
Then you have come to the right place.
You have 15 apprentices? Way to go, girl!
With solutions, you don't have a problem. We have to make your product distinct. A special quality product. Something unforgettable. Customer service is the name, and that is why I do business with them. They go the extra mile to make sure you're comfortable.
Men traditionally have been touted to be the ones to initiate moves, but those moves have always been orchestrated by the women closest to them.
I like the way you work. Very efficient.
The package is as good as what's inside. Don't we make a deadly team?
GH1 TV, your best experience.
During the maiden edition of the Cheers Health Walk. This one promises to be more fun and bigger. This June, join the Cheers Health Walk as we support the Black Stars in the upcoming AFCON in Egypt. Cheers Health Walk, coming soon, only on GH1 TV.
GH1 TV, your best experience.
They chase you from village. Good.
My small across that year. Ole Pale. Amigo. Ole General.
Waiting my husband do now. Waiting happen.
He's ejecting me from my apartment, and that is wrong. Akos don't yarn you now. Not for my hand.
Akos did what? Funny face. Say you won't kill me.
Oh, are you ready to cross over?
Because of that jalopy.
Have you forgotten it? Is this your backyard you used to disfigure that car?
Where's Papa's car?
Where is Papa?
I don't know.
Papa!
So, this is your NFA camp?
No, sir. That will be Abuja, sir.
Sure? Okay.
Who is that? Look! I will fire you! I said, get down! I'm a retired military man. Get down! You're that!
GH1 TV, your best experience.
You're still here on GH1 Television. This is News Tonight with me, Keminni Amanor. Coming up now is Business Brief.
In real life, there's no buffering. So why accept it from your internet connection? Get connected and experience ultra-fast internet to the home from MTN. MTN Home, powered by MTN Fiber Broadband from the Internet Masters.
We're there for you, everywhere you go. Burgled, who would you be? The Mr. Iradimewo? Or the Mr. Obinsomiwo? Or the Mr. I've got Star. Star Home Policy makes all the difference when burglary happens. Live. Let Star take care of it. Sign up to Star Comprehensive Homeowners Insurance today. Star Assurance, your solid partner.
Business Brief is brought to you by
Everywhere You Go, MTN.
Let's start with some good news for borrowers. In light of current economic conditions and considering the risks to inflation growth, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has decided to maintain the policy rate at 16%, citing an anchored inflation expectation. Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, who made the announcement at a news conference in Accra on Monday, indicated that the MPC will closely monitor both global and domestic development to take appropriate measures towards ensuring price stability.
In the outlook, the trade balance is expected to record surpluses bolstered by the oil sector and a pickup in private transfers to support an improving current account balance. However, there are also significant outflows associated with energy-related debt bond maturities and coupon payments, which would have to be managed over the rest of the year. On the inflation outlook, the committee noted that the recent exchange rate pass-through has slowed the disinflation process, leading to a slightly elevated inflation profile, as shown in the latest forecast. However, core inflation remains subdued and inflation expectations fairly anchored. Under the circumstances, the committee decided to keep the monetary policy rate unchanged at 16%. The committee will continue to closely monitor both global and domestic developments and stands ready to take appropriate measures if necessary to maintain price stability. Thank you.
Still on the economy, the central bank has indicated economic growth on the domestic front remains steady and is projected to gain some additional momentum due to expectations in the petroleum industry, mainly from crude oil production. The bank also cited the cedi's recovery from its recent depreciation as a contributor to this steady growth. Governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, again told reporters at the central bank in Accra about this development.
Growth remains relatively strong as the output gap continues to close. The bank's updated composite index of economic activity also shows evidence of increased economic activity, with a yearly growth of 4% in March 2019, up from 2.9% a year earlier. This robust pace of economic activity is supported by improved sentiments from businesses following the Ghana cedi's recovery from the recent sharp depreciation and favorable growth prospects, even though consumer sentiments weakened slightly as a result of the recent increases in prices. Economic growth remains steady and is projected to gain some additional momentum over the horizon, supported by crude oil production. Early indications already show that economic activity in the first quarter is picking up pace, as evidenced by the bank's CIEA. Other factors, such as improving business sentiments and credit growth, are supportive of growth in the outlook.
The President of the Republic of Austria has described Ghana as the most important destination in Africa currently for Austria and Austrian-owned businesses. According to President Alexander Van der Bellen, the management of the Ghanaian economy, especially over the last 2 years, for which Ghana is projected to be the fastest growing economy in the world in 2019, has made the country very attractive for investors from Austria. He made this known when he held closed-door bilateral discussions with the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Welcoming the increasing participation of Austrian businesses in Ghana's economy, President Akufo-Addo, who is also in Austria to participate in the R20 Austrian World Summit on Climate Change, urged Austrian firms to invest in clean energy initiatives in Ghana. On the fight against terrorism, the increasing activities of terrorists in the Sahel, the President called for more support in aid efforts by the African Union and the G5 du Sahel in combating the menace. He stressed that the coordination of activities between the armies and the intelligence agencies of our countries is absolutely essential to a successful battle against terrorism. The President is in Austria to attend the R20 Austrian World Summit, an initiative which is helping regions, countries and cities to implement the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and to meet the global climate protection targets outlined in the Paris Agreement. He is attending the summit in his capacity as co-chair of the UN Secretary-General's Group of Eminent Advocates on the 2030 SDGs and will on Tuesday 28th May participate in the high-level panel discussion on the need for leadership to take responsibility in the global processes on sustainable development and international cooperation.
That'll be all for business. Right after this is Izo. Ghanaian Afrobeats musician Article 1 has condemned people who criticize his colleague Patapa for his kind of music. Article 1 believes music is unique and can be sung in any form or done in any form with a good rhythm.
Ghana, find him, link up, Article Patapa, with the wawa, what's it?
What made you believe in Patapa so much to sort of collaborate with him?
I'll say, collaborations, we just don't do collaborations. I can do a collaboration with Patapa. I know what I've seen, and I know my plans. You might do a collaboration with Patapa, Enfa. I look at who I am, and when I came up, and then how things went for me, and then compared it to the way things went for Patapa, we have something similar, and we have something in common. So that was the only reason why I had to do that collaboration with Patapa.
Patapa Article with the go higher. What do you want ya go to loss? Patapa with the wawa. What is in Kuna? Ebon Pipreke Kayo Betty. Ebon Pipreke Kayo Betty boom. Article Yakwa.
I have over 2.3 getting to 2.4 million views on YouTube with that song. And then the song is the nation's favorite. So why do you want me to regret?
So what do you have to say about those who are saying that they don't want to have any collaboration with him?
Because they don't need Patapa. I think they don't need Patapa. Do you understand? It doesn't mean I need Patapa so much, but with that particular collaboration, I can do that particular collaboration with Sako Deer or Stoneboy or some of the big names, Shatta and Co. But if it's not going to pick up, it's not going to pick up. Yeah. Patapa is doing so well, because I don't think you only need good singers in the industry or good rappers in the industry. As a whole industry, you need a bit of Article 1, a bit of Patapa, a bit of Kwame Eugene and the Sako DS and Samini to sum up to make it a very big industry. We can't all be doing the same thing. I'll say we are trying our best. We are trying our best, although the industry is not favoring most musicians all the time, but we are trying our best. We can't complain. There's nothing we can do about it. So it depends on you, the individual artist, to fight hard, make sure you get your ways out of it and make money. If you don't make money, come on, it's a joke thing. You have to make money.
Well, on that Patapa note, we'll say good night to you. Thank you very much for your company. If you missed the news, catch a playback on Facebook and on YouTube. My name is Keminni Amanor, and I'll see you same time tomorrow evening. Bye-bye.
This is how we prepare for you every day, paying close attention to every little detail. We make sure that everything is in place for your arrival. Every time you communicate with UBA, we welcome you with open arms and celebrate your success with you. We have offices in New York, Paris and London, and presence in 20 countries across Africa. With almost 70 years of banking experience, we have a technological background, making us #1 in risk management with the most secured online banking platform. UBA has been serving Ghana close to 15 years and currently operates in 28 branches across the country. Visit us today at a branch near you. UBA, Africa's global bank.
GH1 TV, your best experience.
Is proudly brought to you by Indomie, Gino Tomato Paste, Onga, Royal Peck Biscuits, and Ideal Milk.
What are you doing there?
Looking for some music to play?